Now, the image of Magnum Mater, seated on a throne with lions at her side, symbolizes her dominion over nature and wild beasts. The lions were not merely decorative, but were embodiments of untamed power, suggesting that the goddess had authority over life forces that were beyond human control. To be enthroned between them conveyed both mystery and harmony with the primordial energies of the natural world. This was especially important in a cult that celebrated fertility, cycles of death and rebirth, and ecstatic union with divine powers. Esoterically, the throne represented the divine sovereignty and immovability, a seat between opposing forces symbolized by the lions. In many mystical systems, dual guardians, whether animal, deities, or elemental powers, represented the balance between chaos and order, wilderness and civilization. In this way, the enthroned goddess became the axis or still center of the world, reflecting the concept of the omphalos, or world navel, from which all life sprang, and to which all returned. The lions themselves were also linked to solar energy, fire, and protective strength. Their presence signified the protective and purifying powers of the goddess, as well as the transformative nature of her rites. In Phrygian and Roman ritual, worshippers of Magnum Mater underwent states of ecstasy, trance, and even self-wounding or castration in imitation of the goddess's consort Attis. These intense practices were believed to connect the soul to divine forces, often visualized through symbolic images like the lion-flanked throne, which communicated divine authority and initiation into mysteries. The Sibylline books were a collection of prophetic utterances believed to have been delivered by the Sibyls, women inspired by the gods who were regarded as oracles in the Greco-Roman world. These books, written in Greek hexameter verse, were not public documents, but sacred texts stored in the Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill in Rome. They played a significant role in the religious and political life of ancient Rome, particularly during times of crisis. According to tradition, the Sibylline books first came to Rome during the reign of Tarquinius Superbus, the last of the Roman kings. A mysterious woman, identified later as the Cumaean Sibyl, offered 9 prophetic books to the king, who refused to buy them due to the high price. After burning 3 of them, she offered the remaining 6 for the same price. When the king refused again, she burned 3 more. Finally, only when 3 books remained, he agreed to purchase them at the original price. These surviving books were then housed in the temple and guarded by special priests known as quindecimaviri sacris faciundis, who were charged with consulting them only at the command of the Senate. The books were not a means of everyday divination or personal prophecy. They were reserved for extraordinary circumstances such as plagues, military disasters, omens, or portents. When Rome faced such dangers, the Senate would instruct the priest to consult the books for guidance on what rituals or foreign deities might appease the gods and restore divine favor. These consultations often led to the introduction of new cults or festivals into Roman religious practices, such as the importance of the cult of Magna Mater from Phrygia during the Second Punic War, an event deeply tied to omens and the Sibylline instructions. The Sibylline books reflected a syncretic religious philosophy, though written in Greek and originally derived from the Hellenic world. They were seamlessly woven into Roman state religion. Their influence allowed for the introduction of foreign gods and rituals in a controlled manner, reinforcing the Roman belief that they could secure divine favor by honoring all the gods, both native and foreign. The original Sibylline books were destroyed in 83 BCE when the Temple of Jupiter Capitolinus burned. In response, the Senate ordered that a new collection be assembled. Priests were sent across the Roman world to collect similar prophetic writings attributed to various Sibyllists. These new texts were compiled and kept under official guard, continuing to serve as a sacred advisory resource until at least the 4th century CE. Throughout Roman history, the Sibylline books served as a religious and political tool affirming the power of the Senate and affirm the power of the Senate to interpret divine will and control religious innovation. They also embodied a deep reverence for prophecy and fate, suggesting that the destiny of the state was written in the stars and could be deciphered by those entrusted with sacred knowledge. Even after the rise of Christianity, the image of the Sibyl endured in literature and art, sometimes repurposed as a pagan voice foretelling the coming of Christ, illustrating how deeply rooted their authority was in the Roman spiritual imagination. The Quindecimviri, formerly known as the Quindecimviri Sacris Fusiundis, were a powerful college of 15 priests in ancient Rome who held custodianship over the Sibylline books. These texts, believed to contain prophetic messages from the Sibyl, were consulted by the Roman state in times of great crisis, uncertainty, or prodigies. The role of the Quindecimaviri was highly sacred and political, blending the domains of divine revelation and civic governance. Their name meaning 15 men for performing sacred rites reflects their number, which was increased from the original duo of the earlier Duumviri, who first held this responsibility. The origin of the college stretches back to the early republic, and its responsibilities expanded over time. The Sibylline books, believed to have been brought from Comé, were kept in the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus on the Capitoline Hill. The Quindecimaviri were summoned when unusual phenomena occurred: lightning striking the temple, monstrous births, unusual phenomena occurred, like eclipses or plagues. Upon consultation, they would interpret the verses and recommend specific rituals, sacrifices, or the introduction of new deities into the Roman pantheon to restore harmony with the gods. Their influence became especially visual during moments when Rome integrated foreign cults, such as the Sibyl from Phrygia. Now, when omens were interpreted as indicating a need for the Magna Mater, it was the Quindecimaviri who facilitated her reception into Rome, along with organizing the rituals that surrounded her cult. They were also deeply involved in decisions concerning ludi, or public games, often advising which festivals should be instituted or expanded to appease divine forces. While their actions were religious, their authority could heavily influence politics, especially in times when public anxiety was high and supernatural interpretations guided major state decisions. Members of the Quindecimaviri were typically drawn from Rome's elite class. Their tenure was for life, and their positions were both prestigious and secretive. Due to the sanctity of their office and the sensitivity of the Sibylline verses, their interpretations and rituals were shrouded in secrecy.